There is a lot of noise, and I don't mean noise like unsuppressed guns and flashbangs going off. I mean like noise, you know? People talking shit, discourse that isn't realistic. There's just all this noise in the world in general, but we don't get away from that just because we're in the shooting space where we think we know better. There's a lot of things being sold to us that we don't need. There's a lot of skills, CQB footwork and recce work and all these sexy terms and theories and actions that really probably don't apply to you. And that's not an insult. They don't really apply to me either. Keep a contextual mindset when you look at this stuff, because what may make sense for an infantry platoon probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you on your own if something goes bump in the night at your house. In the same vein, direct action, SWAT focused, super sexy stuff, probably not very applicable to you and your wife when you're out getting groceries. Now, as far as the hard skills go, we are going to work on stuff that has an application, right? But everything we do, we want to be realistic. If we can get good at shooting a pistol, it makes sense if we're carrying a pistol every day. We're going to worry a lot less about getting all kitted up, battle rattle, and going and hitting the objective, and what kind of footwork and what kind of, you know, dynamic versus, you know, that's not what we're about here. Shoot in this direction where we have our backstop away from the road, and then we'll stage in the pine needles where it's drier and Our goal for these training workups is to be above all realistic and practical. While those terms are by their very nature open to interpretation, we like to think of everything we put together as being easy to replicate for any and all shooters. Well, we're definitely going to have plenty of rifle and transitional stuff coming up. Our foundational focus will be on the handgun. It's the thing we carry every day and the most immediate and likely tool to be at your disposal in a real-life self-defense scenario. And if you're not carrying concealed or just starting on your shooting journey, this will be a great first skill check to make sure you have the basic principles down. This workup was designed around the idea that even if you can only shoot indoors on a public range, it can be completed with just a sheet of paper and an index card. All right, so step one is going to be our basic pistol workup. I've got our score sheet and criteria here. The score is going to be 5 points for each hit. It's what we call a Virginia count if you ever shot USPSA. That basically means that you're going to have 50 rounds and 50 rounds only. So what we don't want to see is you missing a shot and then taking a makeup shot or just hammering the target and seeing what lands. Take these 50 shots and these 50 shots only, and then apply scoring to them. Now, targets, again, one sheet of printer paper. It's what we call an A11 for what it's worth. Then you also have one index card. You're going to mount that above it, and you're going to face it horizontal. Printer sheet is going to be vertical. Our first string is what we call hold it. It's 10 rounds. Starting at 3 yards, you're going to fire 2 rounds into the index card. You'll step back to 5 yards, repeat that. Step back to 7 yards, repeat that. Step back to 10 yards, repeat that. All right, 1 low, 2 low. Score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Second string is called quarterback. 5 rounds, 25 yards. You're going to fire all 5 rounds into your printer paper, your A11. Now again, this can be done indoors. So if you're in an indoor range, set the target out to 25, obviously. If you're using an indoor range and you don't have the luxury of shooting at whatever pace, movement's going to be obviously restricted. You may not be able to draw from concealment at some indoor ranges. Go ahead and shoot it from the table, from compression, whatever you need to do. If you have the luxury of shooting outdoors and you want to continue to measure your progress, do go ahead, get yourself a shot timer, measure your time and your points. You can use what's called hit factor scoring, which is your points divided by your time. It can be done either way. We're going to encourage you to try and get outside, if at all possible. I know that's not realistic for everybody, but if you get the chance, get back out into nature. It'll be good for you. I promise. Third is cadence. It's going to be 20 rounds, all done at the 7-yard line. What you're going to do is fire 5 rep groups at different cadences. Your first cadence is going to be a 1,000 count, and what that means is 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005. You're going to break that trigger on each count. After that 5, you're going to speed it up a little bit. It's going to be an and count, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Then you're going to go into your next 5, and that's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, break that shot with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're probably going to have to reload. Your final 5 is going to be basically a build drill. It's going to be go fast time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we want to focus on here is controlling that reset. If you don't know what that means that as you break that shot and go to make another, we don't want to see your trigger come flying back off and then yanking it again. You want to try to ride that reset or let the reset walk out so that you break the shot, you let your finger out just enough to reset the trigger, break it again. It broke the paper. Sweet. Felt that too. When you're going at that full speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's pretty likely that one of those shots, at least for me, is going to get pushed either left or pushed right. When I start braking, I kind of need to find where I'm picking up that dot again. So I'll usually break my first shot well. I'm pretty sure this is my second shot. I saw the window dive on me a little bit, corrected with my grip, and then was able to run that and see that dot was bouncing. When you go that fast, you're not really gonna see the dot right on the center of the target the same way you do it if you're really breaking the shot slowly. But as long as you can see that dot settle right when you break that shot, you know you're on. So that is 3, 20, 60 points. Now that's good to go. Last is called the usual. Now we call it the usual because if you ever read old gun rags in like 2007, the hottest thing known to man was the Mozambique drill. It's 3 rounds in your printer paper, 2 rounds in your head box at 15 yards. So there are 250 points available. 50 rounds, 5 points each, 200 points to pass, 225 is the par, 240 for prestige. You'll notice I've got these numbers corresponding to the hits. Those denote the individual strings. So what you can do or should do really is look at the strings that you struggled with, mark those up. So if you start seeing, string 2 or string 3 way off on the left or way low or breaking outside, you want to go back and say, okay, if it's a rhythm issue, I should start working more on that trigger reset and trigger control, work on my grip, make sure I'm able to keep control of that gun as I start speeding up. If you're walking back and you're shooting those 25s and you just can't nail it down, that's basic marksmanship stuff. Get those reps in and just keep working your way back.
Let's run it again. I'm going to see if I can tighten up.
All right. Second run, 215. What did you feel that you did better on that second one?
Slowed down on the cadence and recovered better after things like reloads.
Okay.
The first run, that cadence really killed me because I was all over the place.
Yep.
And then after every reload or after every malfunction, I would just wing one. Just
Yep.
like immediately 5 points off the board. This time I slowed down coming out of those malfunctions and stuff
Okay.
and got one on there. And then I'm surprised that I did so well on my double action trigger pulls, because those were also killing me on the first one, and this time I actually got about half of those like on paper.
Nice. Well done.